Good morrow, ladles and jelly spoons. It is I, Onyx Wildcat. Welcome to the crazy. In today's video of doom, I thought I would share with you a standalone story of one of my more, I'd say, scary experiences with the paranormal. This happened over 10 years ago when I visited Oregon to go spend time with my sister. Best friend slash sister. And she's basically my sister. This story is interesting because I wasn't the only one that experienced the weirdness, and I'll explain once yeah. So at the time I was still living with my dad, and I had flown out. It was like a holiday thing. My memory's kind of crap. But this I do remember. I went to go, I got on a flight, and I was supposed to spend time with her for like a week or two, I think 2 weeks. And she was going to introduce me to one of her friends. She lived in Salem, Oregon, and one of her friends lived in Portland in a very old house, an old 2-story house. And when we went over with her husband, it was a typical bunch of youngins, like early 20s, late teens, early 20s, very, very young adults living in this house. And in the downstairs room, or in the front room when you walk in, there was like a TV, and we were all gonna huddle together and watch, or I was going to watch them. I think we were playing Silent Hill 3. That dates it for you. It was when in the very beginning, it's the guy running down the hill through the fog and forever, and that freaked me out. So it's that one. I'll have to look it up and put it somewhere in the video. I got a house tour with her friend, who we will name him Bob. I don't know. Bob was going to give us a tour of his very, very old 2-story house. It was a big white house with a big porch, an open porch. It had an attic. This house, I had vibes to it. It had a feeling. It felt alive. I don't really like talking about it. I'm getting kind of lightheaded. It's been a long time since I've spoken about it, because the house that I'm currently living in is also alive, as I put it. It is very much, it's got character to it. It's very obvious that there are things here in this house that have been here for a lot longer than the house has been built here. And the house has been here for over 100 years. So if that tells you anything. But I feel very safe here. It's home. I've made friends. I'll just put it that way. It's a nice, peaceful, loving, warm environment. This house in Oregon, in Portland specifically, I was with my best friend, and we'll call her Glossy. She's gonna hate me for that. So Glossy and I were on a tour with Bob through his house, and he was just showing us various rooms, and it wasn't really well kept. There was a lot of things put in random places. It was, kind of like this artsy-fartsy type of young guys that don't really care about cleaning after themselves, and they just kind of throw things everywhere. But, it's fine. It was no big deal. And we went up to the attic, and I just remember the attic for some reason, and it felt strange. Like, as soon as we got into the attic, it was weird. You could walk in, it was like another room, there was stuff, it was like storage. I remember the house being very white, very pale, but old white. I can't explain it. It's like stone, that kind of feeling, like a mausoleum. Yeah, that's not creepy. As we were walking through the house, and we come downstairs, I just felt off. All he said was that the house had history. Glossy told me the house felt weird to her when she had first been there, and she liked being outside. Her husband just, nothing messes with him, so it didn't matter. We go downstairs, and there was a little, the way that the room was set up is that, say I'm sitting here and this was the couch, and then across from me there was, a wall, and there was the TV, and they were playing silent. It was a big room, and the door was to my left. I was hyped up on caffeine. I was not tired in any fashion when we got there. And I had sat on the couch and I was watching, and if I'm freaked out by a game, I get way too into games. That's why I can't play horror games, even though I'll watch somebody, but I can't play. I get too involved. I was sitting on the couch and I was getting all like freaked out just by the character running down the hill. God, it was like an endless run, and I'm freaking out because I hear all of these things about Silent Hill, and Glossy had been, teasing me the whole time she was going to scare the crap out of me by watching this. And for some reason, my eyes were so heavy. So heavy. I could not keep my eyes open. I felt drained. It's like something had drugged me and I was falling asleep, and I had to keep jolting awake. And Glossy was like, "Hey, you all right?" And I'm like, I don't feel good. Something doesn't feel right. She goes, "Yeah, I'm picking up on that." And, we played the game, and not for very much longer. Like, I passed out, passed out. Twice, but not for long. I think the second time I slept for like 15 minutes. And it felt weird. And so we left. I remember we left, and everything was fine. There was another experience that we had that was connected to the house, but I'll save that for another video, because that is a video unto itself, where I experienced an angel firsthand, and it's not what you think. It's not. The one that I experienced was not all fluffy, okay? Whatever this angelic being was, because that's the only thing that I could call it. It was like supernatural, kind of like the show, Supernatural. It's like those kind of angels. They're not warm and fluffy. But anyway, like I said, that'll be another video. If you would like a continuation of that story that connects to this, I can definitely film that. Now, here's the weird part. After all the weirdness that had happened, I go home. All right, and this was I think a few years after The Grudge and that movie. I think it was the first horror movie. Now it doesn't affect me like it did, but it was the first horror movie that I sat in front of after the credits and I couldn't move. It terrified me because it was so different. And I love the fact that it didn't have a happy ending. It was different. It was terrifying to me at the time, especially when she came down the stairs and made that sound. Couldn't deal with that at all. This is important. When I get home, back to my safe abode with my father, at the time I had a little Nokia. Yeah, this dates it for you. I had a Nokia cell phone, and only Glossy had my cell phone number, okay? She had my dad's number, right? Here's where it gets super duper creepy. On my phone, there is a new message in my voicemail. There was no missed call, and it was a Portland number. I did not know anyone in Portland. Bob did not have a phone. He didn't have a cell phone that I was aware of. His house did not have a house phone. There was no landline that I could say. There was no phone hookup. Let me put it that way. If they had internet, but they didn't have a telephone. It was a Portland number. Again, no missed call, but there was a message. I listened to the message, and I freaked out because something in the phone, it was The Grudge making that sound, and there was a woman screaming in the background. And this went on for like a full minute, and then it cut off. I called Glossy, freaking out. And I'm like, "Did you give him my number?" And she was like, No, Bob doesn't. no, he doesn't have your number. He didn't ask for your number. I'm like, does he have a house phone? She's like, no. And I said, I gotta show this to you. And I'm like, let me call you from the house phone, because I had my cell phone, and then, you know, my dad had our old house phone. And I pick up the phone, and there's a beep. Because I'd gotten off the phone with Glossy. And I'm like, why is it? Because, you know, we had the old voicemail system. And I'm like, Dad, did the phone ring? And he's like, no. Ever since I'd gotten home, that's when I got the voicemail. And my phone hadn't rang, the house phone didn't ring. And I pick up, this is where it gets really creepy, house phone number, totally different than my cell phone number. My cell phone number was from a different city, okay? Ugh, sorry, yeah, this is creepy, sorry. I'm trying to calm down. I listened to the message. It's the same message. It's the same message. So I showed it to my dad, and he's like, that is really strange. Now, my father, he worked for aerospace. He worked for Hughes Aerospace for many, many years. He was all about science and space, and, you know, very intelligent man. Very intelligent, like he was a genius. He actually, his comment creeped me out. He waited until after I called Glossy, because he was hanging out in the living room. We had a small apartment I grew up in. And I used the house phone so she could hear it over the cell phone, the message. And I played it for her. And she was like, what the dude? And I told her it was also on the house phone. And there was no missed call, and it was the exact same Portland number. And it did it shortly after I got home. And she thought that was really freaky, and I said, she's like, dude, it's the house. It's got to be that house. I'm like, I couldn't stay awake. She goes, no, I could feel it was making me sick too. And I'm like, I don't ever want to go back to that house. A lot of, whatever it was just, I don't know why it called to freak me out. It used something that terrified me. And then when I got off the phone with Glossy, my dad, he just, you know, was trying to be polite to wait for me to get off the phone. And Mr. Peanut Gallery had to say that, I guess that house really liked you. I was like, my dad he didn't say things like that. I mean, just, like, that house felt alive. I told him that. And my father said, even I feel like that house was trying to reach out to you. I'm like, to scare me? Why would it do that? And like, I don't know. But there was something about that street in Portland that didn't feel right. And I didn't know the history of Portland, about how people were shanghaied in Portland, a thing where people were kidnapped. There's a lot of history in Oregon and in Portland, and for whatever reason, fridge in the background's going off, but for whatever reason, that house targeted me. And I have no explanation for it. And I tried to save the messages, and they're gone. Because, I mean, it's been over 10 years. But it just didn't, it was the weirdest thing. And I still can't explain it. But I even remember another moment in Portland with Glossy. We had stopped off, I think it was on our way home, back to Salem from Bob's. We had stopped off at a bar that was open, and we had to pee. And we went into this little dank bathroom. I don't know if the walls were dark green or dark red. It just had that weird vibe to it. And we both felt immediately not okay. Like a stabbing feeling in the gut. And I'm like, dude, we have to get out of here. It feels like a woman was murdered in here. And she's like, can we go? I'm like, yeah, we need to go. It felt like something, the room was getting darker. It didn't feel right. She's like me. We're both sensitive. Or psychic, or empaths, or whatever you like to call it. But yeah, I'll never understand why. That was one of the scariest experiences I think I've ever... One I can't explain. And I have more. I have a lot more. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to this channel, hi. Hope I didn't freak you out too much. And please, by all means, stay a spell, hit that subscribe button. We're all a bunch of goofballs here, and there is no judgment, because we don't do that, because we're in a safe space, a tiny channel, and that is okay. I'm honestly fine with that. There is a cat next to me who's cleaning himself. He's very elegant with it. Anyway, if you would like a continuation of the other story that is connected to this story about Oregon, about the angel experience, let me know down in the comment section below, and I'll make it happen, okay? What's your weirdest experience when it comes to houses? Like, have you ever had anything like this happen to you guys? Like, I mean, I can't be the only person, because it was really weird. I don't know. And on that note, my lovely ladles and jelly spoons, I shall bid thee anon, and I hope you have a wonderful morning, noon, night. I just hope you have a good time. So, alright, I'm gonna go now. So, I love your faces. Mwah! Adieu.